over the weekend, President Donald Trump finally got his long awaited birthday military parade. Wow, straight out of North Korea and into your living room. Now, that said, turns out that was a complete flop. That's right. Uh, Turns out not a lot of people showed up. Okay, especially when it comes to how many people they wanted to show up. So you had about 3 dozen horses, 28 Abrams tanks, 6,700 soldiers, and millions of taxpayer dollars. And you had the turnout that was like far less than expected. Or again, far less than what they wanted. We expected little turnout. There was a crowd that was well under the administration's projected 200,000 people that showed up to the National Mall on Saturday, where again you had army information sessions, military fitness challenges, weapons exhibits, and all sorts of things prior to the parade. While military members actually spoke on stage the entire time to a relatively sparse audience. Then, of course, you had the parade, which turned out to be a bit of a snooze fest. That, yeah, no, that was just the audio there tells you everything. No cheers, nothing enthusiastic going on in the background, just the awkward squeaking of the tank as it rolls by. I mean, right there, if there's any video that really illustrates how the American people feel about this, it is that video. The enthusiasm gone, sapped. No, and very low energy. Okay, just wow. As far as parades go, boring. Apparently, you had a few, sparse chants of USA,
USA, USA, USA.
That's about the most energetic it got. And the majority of the parade also featured soldiers just walking by. They weren't even marching in step. They're just walking by. They're phoning it in. Okay. Pretty sure they didn't want to be there either. Okay. There was one man wearing an InfoWars shirt that was yelling, "Bring out the tanks," and then complained that people got no energy out here. No kidding. No kidding. About the time that people started perking up is when Trump and JD Vance spoke, because again, Trump is the cult leader, and that's really it. That crowd, of course, was filled with QAnoners, J6ers, the MAGA people, and they did show up. That's about it. I mean, you had people like Judy Alston of Delaware, who, of course, said, the normal QAnon thing. Normal, right? There's nothing normal about what they're saying, but again, this is what they say, the claiming that all of our politicians are sex trafficking children, and Hillary Clinton's drinking the blood of children to stay young, and Trump is the only one that's brave enough to go and expose them, except that he hasn't yet. Yeah, there's that. Again, the man with 34 felony counts and is a rapist that hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. They still somehow believe that he is the only one who's trying to expose the pedophile ring in Congress and in Washington, D.C. Insanity. QAnon people are not only super weird, but again, I think there's a lot of projection going on here, because there are a lot of, and I've talked about them, documented cases of QAnon J6 people that have criminal records involving the sexual abuse of minors. So yeah, awkward, very awkward. Now, again, how many people showed up? Well, if you ask Stephen Chung of the Trump administration, over 250,000 patriots, brave America patriots showed up. Of course, it was nowhere near that, maybe 100,000 at most, maybe. D- Again, the numbers here are debatable. And so, not only that, but some of the attendees were protesting against it. In fact, 5030 founder, 5013 founder, wow, Doug Landry shared a series of posts that documented many of the issues with this parade. Landry described the event as legitimately the worst executed mass attendance event I've ever seen, before sharing photos that sparsely populated Washington Mall, the single checkpoint to which approximately 15,000 people were sent, maps that failed to offer any clear directions, dozens of empty checkpoints, and empty VIP bleachers. Oops. Compare that, of course, to the No Kings protests that had an estimated near 6 million, if not more, attendees across 2,100 cities, and it could be up to 10 million. We don't know. And towns across the country, of course, you had an additional 300 kick out the clowns rallies, which is also funny. Then let's see. You also had Philadelphia, for example, who saw more than 100,000 attendees. Chicago, 75,000. You had smaller towns such as Pentland, Michigan, reporting about 400 protesters in the town of 800. It turns out that holding your own protests away from Donald Trump's parade actually was a really smart move. In fact, I want to show you here a picture from Chicago. That's one of the Chicago march. What was it? The No Kings rally marches. So there's that. That's awesome. A lot of people there. And then, of course, this one is from Atlanta. A lot of people. A lot of people. I don't know, man. It looks like the Trump parade was a bit of an expensive flop, while you had millions of people turn out to the No Kings protests. And my numbers might be a little off because there's a lot of different reporting here on how many people actually showed up to the No Kings protests. Some are saying above 10 million, up to 13. I'm not entirely sure. So again, don't take my numbers as gospel here. All right. But once again, I think it's really important to point out how this is the number of protests that have popped up against Donald Trump are huge, huge. And it's increased dramatically since 2017. Since his inauguration in January, Trump's administration has witnessed more than 15,000 protests and rallies. No wonder Trump hates protests. No wonder he threatened to, shut them down. No wonder he hates free speech, because a lot of that speech is against him. You had a threefold increase in the number of public demonstrations that have taken place since by this point back in 2017. It is estimated that these No Kings rallies actually drew out more people than the 2017 Women's March. Wow. So, I mean, that is pretty amazing. And look, remember that you need about 3.5% of the population to force action via mass protest, right? That's the number that you're really looking at, right? We don't know if the No Kings protest turned out to be that many. Still, scholars, even if it doesn't turn out to be that 3.5% of the population, still, if you mobilize 1 to 1.5% of the population, you still have about a 40 to 60% chance of accomplishing your goals, political goals. So that's where it's really, really important. But the overall point is here behind these protests is that the energy is absolutely there, 100%. And all we need to do now is continue that energy and focus it and turn it into real, lasting political action. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.